Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a WordPress website through lifetime hosting. Now, at this point, you've already set up your lifetime hosting account and selected all your options, and I am going to be using the for-account hosting option so that you can see the different options that are available under it. Now, here I'm on the cPanel page. You'll get two emails when you sign up. One that goes to your account and one that goes to your cPanel, your control panel. And the control panel is where you can do a lot more, so that's where I'm going to go in. So I have my information already pre-populated, but you'll want to enter your username and your password, and you'll just follow the link that's in that email. And when you get in, you will have a variety of options in here. You'll see like the website builder, files, the file manager. If later on, as you've built your site and you need to maybe load a file on that people can access, is going to be file manager is your friend. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. You can do a lot of that in WordPress. So we're going to actually just install WordPress. And you'll see if you scroll down, you'll see where we can do email. This is where we would create email accounts. And there's a whole suite of email tools in here. Metrics, security, software, advanced. These are all things you can play with later. For now, we're just going to go and install WordPress. And so at the bottom of the cPanel, you'll have the apps installer, and we're going to click on WordPress. Now, you'll see that there are a lot of other apps there, and just so you know that they all serve different functions, and WordPress can serve a lot of those functions as well. So most websites can function on a WordPress site, especially if they're basic or new. So here's the main install page, and we're just going to hit install now. So you can see here where it says available space, how much space is available, and how much is required. So we're going to click install, and it's going to ask us for some information. Now on choose protocol, this is important on installation if you are interested in setting it for the www. Most of us are not going to need the HTTPS, so we're probably going to go with either the first one or the second one. And I personally like the www because I have been around the internet a little too long and I'm kind of stuck with that. But some people don't. And what's important about this particular element is that whatever you choose now, you need to be consistent with later on. So if you plan on ever doing any search engine optimization, you'll want to choose whatever you plan on doing later. So when you build links, you want to build the same links to whatever you choose as your main protocol. Now, you'll choose your domain. Now, if you had other domains, like if you, let's say I actually do have one that has create email address in it at some point, and let's say that, oh, here it is, createemailaddress.com, that you wanted to put it straight on that one, you could do that. But for the purposes of this installation, I'm just going to put it on the actual domain that you create when you set up your account. You can get it for free with the for site option. Now, in directory is if you didn't want it on your main site. So if you have www.yourdomain.com, if you want it on that page, you need to take away this in directory. If you wanted it in www.yourdomain.com/blog, you could put in blog here. But since I'm going to have it on the main site, I'm going to make sure that this is empty. And you can put in your site name here, or you can do it later. So create email address. Learn how to create your own email address. Multi-site is more complicated and much more advanced than what we need to cover right now. So we're going to skip that. Admin username. I highly recommend that you change this. There are so many different bots out there and programs that search for illegal access. And since this is a default for many of the WordPress sites, that will be something that, you know, if you leave it this way and then you say you walk away from your site for a while, somebody could easily hack into your site. Now, since there's nothing on it, do you really care? Maybe, because they could use it for their own purposes and it could hurt you in the long run. But for the most part, you don't want people accessing your own stuff. So we're going to take this and put, I'm going to put email, and then you can type your own in. You can hide it if you wanted to, or you can show it. This is a generate a random password. So it'll generate a random password for you. So you just want to make sure that you copy and you save that somewhere, because your password credentials are never um, sent, they're never sent to you via email. So I actually have one that I'm going to put in here for now. It's not the best one, but I'll remember it and get back in. So the generator though is really good. So as long as you just keep that password somewhere, because you'll never remember it, that you'll be fine. Admin email address, you can make this whatever you want. I don't like to leave it as admin, so I'm going to change it to support. You may not want it as support if you actually use your support email for support, because more than likely bots will pick this up and you'll get some spam through it. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave my address as support at there. I don't have this one set up yet, so we'll have to go back at some point and create that email. But for now, it's fine. This is, you can select your language. Select plugins. The ones that they have here, this loginizer, it limits the login attempts, and you can get, there's a free and a paid version. I've never paid for it, and I have it installed on almost all of my sites. So I recommend just go ahead and install it. You could always uninstall it later. Now in your advanced options, most of this you're not going to need. You're not going to really play with this. Disable update notifications, it's up to you. I don't recommend that. You can auto upgrade, but the risk to auto upgrade is that you don't have a choice. So if it auto upgrades and then crashes your site, you may not know that for a while until somebody tells you, or you're checking it, or you happen to get a notification that there's an error or something. I mean, you could auto upgrade is not always the best. And you can auto upgrade your WordPress plugins or your WordPress themes. But again, that's one of those risks you run where if it auto upgrades, then you're going to have, problems in the long run. Now you could always you could always go in there and do your own update whenever. I mean, it'll tell you when it needs to be updated. So automatic backups. This is another plugin that they install, and you can, when it backs up, it'll back it up to the actual server that you're on. So you can set up different settings for it and everything, but this is how it's going to come set up. So you can do once a day, once a week, or once a month. So I'm going to go with once a month, and then the backup rotation. So it uses up space on the server. So if you have the 4 hosting package, that's going to be limited. So I'm going to only do 2 for now. And if you have a bigger site, you may not even want to do this, or you may not want to back up through this. You want to back up through your own plugin or your own program or whatever. That's fine. This is just an option you have. Now on this one there, you can select a theme, or you can just go with whatever theme is on there. If there are pros and cons to this, I don't traditionally use one of the free themes that are provided, simply because I have a different purpose with my websites. So I like to have a little bit more control. So I'm playing with a new theme, but it does cost quite a bit of money, and I use it all on my sites. But so just for now, if you don't have a theme that you specifically want, you can select one that's there. The catch is that every theme has like different things you have to learn. There's some basic stuff, and I'll go over the basic elements of it, but if you want to like customize it, or a lot of times you have to upgrade. So I'm just going to select this one, and I'm going to install it. Now, depending on your site connection, this could take a while, or it could be very quick. This one looks like it's going to be quick. So now I have this information, and I could have emailed it to an alternate email, but it's going to, I already have the information. So I'm just going to go into it, and then I'm going to bookmark this. I would bookmark the site. I'm not going to bookmark it on here because this computer's got way too many bookmarks as it is. So this is when you log in, this is what it is. And I didn't have to sign in or anything, so I went straight in from here. This is only going to be here for a short period of time. And when you close out, you're not going to have access to it again. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you keep that information, whether you record this somewhere or something. A lot of times if you go to the login address / the WP-admin, it'll get you straight in. So that's almost exclusively. Let's go over to here. So now we're in the actual WordPress site. So this is the back end. This is the part that you see when you're trying to like organize everything. If you want to actually see the website and how it looks, you would go up here, and I recommend just right clicking so you can keep this open. But if you don't, if you just click on it, it'll open and you can still control from up here. So it started with just the template in there, and there's all the default information. So there's absolutely nothing in it right now. So we need to change that. Now, the first thing you probably notice is that there's updates here, and you can go to updates, but since it's a plugin, I'm actually going to go to plugins. And before I start writing any of my content or customizing anything, I like to go in to my plugins and just clean stuff out. So it's up to you on what you want to do. The Loganizer is the one that needs an update. So when you go in here and you're like, oh, I need to update it, I don't know why I always click on upgrade, but I don't want to upgrade. I've never upgraded ever. So I'm going to say update now. And so now that one's updated. I don't have to worry about any more updates. Hello Dolly. I mean, it sounds like this is great, and I'm sure some people love it, but I always delete it because I don't need it on my sites. I haven't really used this one, this Akismet one, or however you say it, but I'm leaving it there. It's just more recently been installed as a default on some of the blogs, and that might be something that Lifetime Hosting has opted to do. I don't know for sure. So I'm going to leave it there because it's not really in my way. But one I am going to install first, and I do recommend when you go to add new, and that is Yoast SEO. And the reason why I recommend that is because whether you plan on you doing search engine optimization, which SEO stands for, or not, is up to you, but in the long run, you're still going to need to focus your pages and your posts because that's just, good writing. So I like to include it at least for checking my writing, even if I'm not necessarily going to be doing anything per se with that. So I'm going to go to this one, this Yoast SEO right here, and I'm going to install it. You can check and make sure that it's compatible with your version of WordPress, but I mean, it's most of the time going to be, though this one says untested. So I'm going to say install now. It's going to install it. Usually just takes, a few moments. And I'll show you what it does when we go to do a post. Okay, so now that it's installed, we're going to activate it. And so now it is one of the plugins on here. Now I'm going to go into appearance. And if you want, let's say you want to change your theme, you could go into themes and you can see what other themes are in here. When I put mine in here, I actually delete all of the others, and you just click into it and say delete down here. And so you can, I don't know why, I just like to clean it up because I don't want these on here. I have no intention of ever using them. So I just delete the others. It's not like I can't reinstall them if I wanted to. But if you want to, you can say add new, and then you can search for themes. You can go by popular, latest, different favorites, scroll through and see what you like. The one catch is that, and as you probably saw from when I looked at the website, that what you see is not necessarily what you're going to get in the long run. So I have had several of them where they look so beautiful and they're pretty, and you click into them and you're like, oh wow, this is just wonderful, and I can't believe how awesome it is. And then you stick it in there and it has nothing. It's absolutely nothing like that. And they're like, oh yeah, if you want to get that, it's the pro version. So you're just going to have to be careful when you look at it. But we have our theme, so we're actually going to go to customize. And when we customize it, this is just like the basic customization. There's going to be a lot more that we do. You can do, and you don't have to do this first. If you already have content that you've written out and you're like, hey, I want to get this in there, it'll help you because see if this one has, you can see where the content is. If you can't visualize it and you're like, well, I need that content in there, you may want to copy your content, put it in there, and then, tweak it later. So on any of the themes, when you go in and you customize, you just need to click through each of the sections. So we don't have pro anyway. So static front page. This one is where having content helps, but the static front page basically means that whatever somebody types in www.yourdomain.whatever, then they're going to go to what your front page displays. And if you have a blog, then it's going to be your latest posts. But if you want to run a website for like a business or for, your club, or maybe you have a wedding coming up and you're, trying to get something. You may not want a blog site, and you don't necessarily have to with WordPress anymore. It used to be, originally it was set up for blogs, but now you don't even have to have a blog if you don't want. So if you just want pages and you want a main page, you can say a static page, but this is going to be difficult to do until you've put content in. So for now, they have a sample page, and we could use that. So this would be the sample page that they have that's in there, and we can set that as a front page. So for this purposes, since I don't think most people create blogs anymore, we're going to do a sample page, and I'll show you how to customize that a little bit as well. And if that's all you wanted to change, you could say save and publish, but we've got some more to do. So site identity. Here's where originally we installed that site title and then the, subtitle or the tagline. That would be here. You can change that. So if you didn't do that initially, this is where you could change where it would say my site and it would say another WordPress blog or something like that. You could change that out. If you want a site icon, and these are kind of cool and fun, but they have these parameters, and I don't have anything set up for it, so I'm not going to take the time to do that now. But you just select the image, find it on your computer, and load it. Then logos and icons. So you do a logo, and it would replace the default site name and description in the header. So that would probably change. And like I said, I don't use these templates all that often, so sometimes you have to load it and find out how it works. And I don't have any logos preset for this one or anything, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to leave it just the way it is, so there's not additional work. If you are like, hey, I want something fancy, there's I think it's called Cool Logos or something like that, and you can just type in your your name, and it'll change it to different font colors and some fun stuff like that. But it's not absolutely critical. So you can just scroll through and you find all these different things. Look at Apple Touch icon if you wanted to do something like that. They have these different options. That's kind of unique to this theme. I've never seen that before. But you just go through each of these and decide what you want to do, like post page title if you wanted for your blog, if you want how your blog is displayed. This one lets you do that. Not all of them do. So you can say excerpts. These are in other sections as well. So and then you can go through and it'll tell you the different sections. Usually you will want to get whatever theme you decide to do, get the documentation for it and follow the documentation through to let you know. This can be very time consuming. This is probably the hardest part of setting up a website, is just going through and entering all the information. That's part of why I've changed to the theme that I do, is because it's more of I get to set up what I want, and I just add in the widgets and the pages where I want, and so it's very, very easy and straightforward. Now actually, let's save and publish this. So I got my front page on there. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go into the pages. So let me talk a little bit about pages and posts. So pages are like it's a single page. If you go to a post is a single page as well, but posts can show up as a compiled. They're usually shorter, focused on a specific topic or specific purpose, not necessarily updated regularly. Pages are more like what you would see if it's describing maybe something more permanent. Okay, about us page. And about us page is a good page because you're probably not going to be updating that, and you want people to be able to find that easily. So when you go into the pages section, you could create, like we have the sample page is the front page. So I'm going to make that's going to be our home page essentially. Front page is the same thing as home page. So instead of sample page, I'm going to change that, and because I'm into search engine optimization, I'm going to change that to create an email address, and that's my home page, but that'll also be, so instead of home, it says create an email address. Most people would put home in there, but I think most people know how to get to the home page, so I don't do that. I'm going to use that instead as a way to tell Google what I do. Now, if you haven't read my page on domain names, the important thing to understand about domain names is that I will never be able to rank this .co.business. I don't think any search engine will recognize that as a legitimate domain name right now. And that's just in part because .co.business, I honestly think that that entire block is owned by, because this is like a subdomain, is what it looks like. It looks like it's a subdomain of this co.business. And I just don't imagine that Google or Bing or, whoever, whatever other search engines, there's like 100 of them out there, would recognize this as its own domain address. Now, will I be able to rank it? I don't know. I'll find out one day. But generally, what the gurus say is that you want a .com or a .net, and you want to minimize the dashes, but a dash for a .com or .net is better than a .info or .us. That's not to say you can't rank the others. It's just that from everybody who does rank says it's much harder to rank the other extensions than the .com and the .net. So that's something to keep in mind. But if I were going to be ranking this, I would want to make sure that I put in something here that's describing the page, and that's going to be what they call my keyword. Even though this is my home page, you want to do that as well. So down here, you can see I installed that Yoast SEO, and this is why I installed it, is right here. So my focus keyword, which just means it could be a phrase, it doesn't have to be just one word, is going to be create an email address. And when I do that and I update it, it'll start looking at stuff. So it'll see the focus keyword contains a stop word, and that's probably the create an email address. You could say create email address and would still be, so it'll tell you some stuff, but obviously there's no content on here. So I could say this page is for creating an email address, place content here that relates to that topic. It blah, blah, blah. And generally you want to aim for a minimum of 300 words on a page. That's on the very short end. If you're into search engine optimization, and for the most part, 300 words is not very much. It's, it's about a page double spaced of content in a Word document. So considering that, it just depends on who you are. If you 300 words, aim for 300 words as a minimum. If you're into search engine optimization, a lot more, like 1,000 words, maybe even 2,000 words. Content is king when it comes to at least Google. The other search engines are probably going to adopt that if they haven't already as well. So you can use Yoast SEO to help tell you, different things that you can improve on that are for search engine optimization. But you also have this readability tab here. And what I like about the readability tab is that I am working on a PhD. And to be honest, I sometimes put a lot of words into a sentence because in a PhD you do that. But in the real world, you don't. In every other writing, you don't. Just when you're writing a dissertation, do you put in a sentence that is like a paragraph long in itself. So I always have this. I always rank. The copy scores 89.1 is like really good for me. Well, for my whole blah, blah, blah sentence. So it's considered easy to read. I almost always have this as difficult to read, and I have to go back in and revise it. So this helps me a lot. So I can go back in and say, oh, I need to adjust this. Oh, okay, I need to stop doing this. I need to make this shorter. And, where in education, we're always teaching the students, okay, you don't need to have these short sentences. You can use and combine them. And, yeah, it's like the exact opposite when it comes to writing for the real world, or at least the real world on the web. So that's going to be Yoast SEO, and if you want to do a page. So we're gonna update that, make sure we've got everything on there. And if we do a post, so we're going to go into posts. And we see, so they have this one in here that's Hello World. You can edit, you can trash it, and then you can even just do a new one, add new. And these are your blog posts. So, the topic is, creating the email address. I might have a post specifically on free sites to create an email address. And then in here I would talk about free sites that offer email addresses, pros and cons, etc. And and I'd go in there and I'd lay out my points. And I'd say, okay, and like I said, if you go into that, that readability, and they'll tell you information at the bare minimum. And if you want to focus on search engine optimization, you can focus on search engine optimization. So these, and I'll go over Yoast SEO another time, or there's a bunch of them out there. Just Google it, and it's on YouTube, I'm sure. There's the free version is fine. There is a paid version. And the one thing, I actually don't use Yoast SEO as much anymore because I don't focus all of my sites on search engine optimization. But when I do, and I can just type it out in Word and get that some of the same information on my readability. But when I do use Yoast SEO, one of the things I don't like is that for some reason, when I search for my website in Google, at least, it will have powered by Yoast SEO at the end of it. And I'm like, look, I'm not, my site, my client sites aren't there to promote Yoast. And that may be something that you have to pay for to get it taken off or something like that. And so I have to kind of learn that a little bit more. But that's the one thing that I would, if that's something that bugs you or something that is important to you not to have on there, then don't install Yoast. At least not until you figure out how to get that off. So that's going to be our post. Let's publish that. And let's go ahead and take a look at our site just to see where we're at. So we have create an email address, which you can see it's up here as well. This is kind of like it looks like that's going to be our menu. And this is the first page. And the edit only shows up because we're logged in. If we weren't logged in, it wouldn't show up as edit. And this has this on the side, which we can change. Like I said, this is based on your theme and how the options available. But if you go back in the dashboard, you can go into appearance and you can say menus and go in and you can change menus. Like this menu, we only have one on it. We can do posts on what we have. And I mean, you have to just go in and play with all of these. I don't want to make this tutorial too long, but you go in there, you get your content, get your pages set up. And if you're looking for search engine optimization, you're going to have a certain amount of pages that you want in there. I think the minimum is 5. You definitely want your front page, your home page. You want to have, content pages. So, at least 3, probably, maybe 2, at least 2 other content pages. So about different things, whether it's related content maybe, and you can link back to your home page. You maybe need to have like an about page. You can maybe throw some contact information in there. You should probably have a privacy policy or terms of service. A lot of times those are combined. It just depends. Right now, it's not mandatory, but for ranking, if you plan on ranking, a lot of depending on your industry, a lot of different pages are necessary. So you want, privacy policy, how you use cookies, all these different things that are in there. And we can cover that and how to get those relatively easy another time. But just plan on that. For now, you want to get your content on there. If you want people to see stuff, you want to keep adding your pages and then go back into your menu and make sure that it's in your menu. And that probably sounds a little bit more complicated if you've never done it, but for now, just get your pages in there, get your posts in there, and then send me an email if you have any other questions. Go through plugins if you want some plugins. You can go in and say add new, look for different things. If you want to add in, what is that, Google Analytics, which is another thing I do recommend. I have this built into my theme, so your theme may or may not have it, but I have Google Analytics built into mine. So, yeah, I mean, excuse me, every time you add in a plugin, you can go in like, here's the dashboard for Yoast SEO. And you can do a walkthrough of it. So every time you do a plugin, this will add in there. And I'll show you the MailIt plugin in a different video, but these plugins will help you so you can customize the settings for each one of them. I mean, you can go into settings and you can go into the different things. Like here's another area so when we customized, settings is where you're going to find a lot of that customization. So you just go through, here's your email address if you want to change it. So we're in general settings. You can have people sign up so they can post and do things if it's more of a blog style. You go into writing, default post category. Let's say you had different categories defined. You could pick one. That's where they default to. but you can always change them while you're writing too. Then if you post via email, you have to put your settings in, which we would have to discuss at a different time. But all of this, the one great thing about WordPress is that every single thing that's in here, if you're like, hey, I need to know how to do this, or what does this do, or I want to do something, blah blah blah. I want to put a contact us page on here. You can Google it or go to YouTube and look, and you can find a video or an article on Google that talks about it. And that's the one reason why I'm a big fan of WordPress. I think recently they said like 25% of websites are WordPress sites. And if you look at some of them, I think Chase is some sort of variation of a WordPress site. It looks just like the ones that are out there. So ultimately, it's just a matter of getting in there and playing with it. But like I said, the theme dictates a lot of what you'll see and how you can do things. So pick a theme, learn it if you really like it. If you don't, and you're like, hey, I really don't care, or I want to buy one, let me know. I'll let you know what I use. As I keep learning it, because I'm still new to it, I'll do some videos on it and share those with you as well. So for now, go in, log in. This is all on the 4 site lifetime hosting. I haven't had any issues so far. I haven't had any complaints. I haven't been driving a ton of traffic to my sites yet, and so we'll test that out as it goes. But for now, I mean, this is a great way to get up, get going, get on a site, and just get found. So shoot me any questions you have. The Kim at create, of course, create-web-page.com, and I'll have it on this page as well, so you can just send me an email. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's something you want me to cover, um, anything at all. Just let me know. I'm here to help. So thank you. Have a great day.